that winch line, I'd already almost killed my boss one or two times. But he was walking, this one particular time, he was walking around looking at the derrick and looking at this and looking at that. He was a Scotchman, about 240 pounds and tougher than a boot. And he was standing on that winch line when the truck was running out, headed out of gear, and he was running out to the end. When he hit the end, it throwed him about 20 or 30 feet in the air. He come down right in the middle of a mesquite bush. Oh. Stuck all them thorns in him. He'd like to kill that poor guy. About 6 months he's hobbling around. But he was tough, I'll tell you what. Nobody knocked him down but me. I'm the only one that done it. Ever done it. Till his dad. Jeff Whitley, my dad, he was just like my dad. His name was Jeff Whitley. And he was going to whip him one night. We was at the tourist court. So he taken the keys out of the door and he threw them out the window, shut the door, told Johnny he was going to whip him. He had a few drinks. Well, that's the wrong thing to ever tell that man. He just picked him up by the collar like that off the floor and he just slapped the tar out of him. About 20 times. He said, man, I made the biggest mistake I ever made. I wished I hadn't have thrown that key away. But going back to the story of old John McCally, he was partners. They tell me, this was before by the time when I got to know him, that he was partners with a German.
This is your boss, that was a rig
That's
builder?
That's the boss and a rig builder. I worked for him on the trucks too sometimes. But they ain't nobody ever whipped him or put him down or nothing but me. And he had me out there one time straightening iron. And we was standing on a table about 3 foot high, about like that sink in there, you know. And it was a steel table. And he'd say, point to the angle iron, hit it right here, you know. So I had a big sledgehammer. And I just put on a new pair of gloves. So I come down to that sledgehammer I was out in and I whacked that iron, but I missed that V. See, you have to turn up a V like that on the angle iron. Well, I missed it, hit it on the side right here, just a little bit. That big sledgehammer went to spinning like a top, and it spun right out of my glove. I was gripping it as hard as I could, and it hit him. He was standing down there on both knees at the same time, spinning about 100 miles a minute.
Oh, man.
He went down, and he stayed. I used to call him up every once in a while and say, John, he said, who is this? I said, when's the last time you've been knocked down? He said, Whatley, where are you? He didn't want to see me no more. Oh, man. He was a tough fellow, though. I worked, you ever seen them mud pits in the oil field that made out of steel that they put mud in, you know, they have a mud pump? Well, we pulled him up on the back of the rolling tailboard of a truck and slide him right on up on the headache bar behind the cab. And so they cleared the ground and rode down to the other location with him. Well, I had one, it had, I think it was 6 or 40 pack coming out like this on the end, bent up on a 45 with pins in the side so he could hook a winch line around it, pick it up, and it'd roll right over that tailboard and up there. Well, one side was broke off. So I worked for, gosh, about 30 or 45 minutes getting that thing loaded. I had to run a chain all the way down the other end and chain the winch line in under there. As soon as I got it up over the tailboard, he come along and said, let her back down. I said, what? I can't, I've worked hard to get this up there. Let her down and I'll show you how to do it. I said, okay, drop her. So we dropped her back on the ground. So he taken over. He got him a little board about yay long, and he put it where that broken off piece was. He was holding it there. Well, I forget which hand now it was, but he was holding it up there. I'd already tried this. And he said, when I say pull her, pull her. So I said, okay. So he said, pull her. I said, wind her up, Jim. Well, man, he had that motor revved up and he wound her up. Well, when he come up against that board, instead of tilt it up like he thought it'd do, it slapped the board right against the back of the truck, the steel back of the truck, and his thumb was between the board and the truck. It mashed it flattened a piece of tissue paper. Oh, man, he went to town. He wrapped that thing in action and got out of there.
Oh.
Then I ain't going all that work again to load that.
And you said, is that how you do that?
I didn't say that to him. He was paying me. But there was a big old hook of a chain. The chain was dragging, and it had a big hook on it. It was a big chain. So he decided he'd pick that chain up, and there was a pipe up there, so he picked it up out of the derrick and hooked it in that pipe. Well, when we were rolling along, the derrick was shaking like this, you know. So lo and behold, he forgot about that, so he was walking down the derrick when that hook come out and hit him in the head, you know. Blood run down all the way down through his clothes and filled his shoe up, you know. He was a tough rascal.
It was always when he was around you.
Yeah.
You some kind of luck there, Uncle Jim.
He was the one that was standing on the cable.
Yeah.
That
He was the same one that's standing on the cable.
that got thrown in the
I didn't tell him to stand on that cable. What are you talking
I
about?
bet he didn't stand on the cable anymore.
And he said he'd always get in his car and he'd drive off.
He'd get out of
He'd
there.
crawl to his car and drive off.
Yeah, he crawled in and then knocked him down that sledgehammer. He finally got enough wind to crawl over to the car in that old DeSoto and got in there and put her in gear and headed out.
Get me out of this place.
And in particular, get me away from him.
Of course, every rig builder knew this after it happened, you know. He wore them bandages on his knees for 6 months.